Hi, it's Linda Welsh from Linda Welsh Realty Group at Compass. Well, I'd love to talk to you sellers or would-be sellers that are thinking about getting your home ready to sell. And a lot of questions come up now and then on what renovations will actually add value to my house. What should I do to draw interest? Who do we know that can help them do that? What's it going to cost? Things of that sort. So let's talk a little bit about the renovations that actually increase the sales price. You probably know some of these. When you live in your home, you don't always think about how you're living and how a home might look to others. So the first one is not a surprise. It's the kitchen. The kitchen is still the center of the home. Honestly, if you walk into a home that has been renovated, that's probably the first thing you're going to notice. On that topic would be the functionality, the look, the colors, and the surfaces. So I would take a hard look at your cabinets. Sometimes they can be recovered or doors could be replaced. Sometimes it's a good idea to actually change the layout of the kitchen. If it's an older style home and it's more tucked into a corner of the house, you may want to talk to a contractor about actually removing a wall or two if it's not a load-bearing wall, and you can have a more open floor plan, which is really, really popular. As far as surfaces go, yes, cabinets and cabinet colors are a big one, but even more so are countertops. Quartz or quartzite is extremely popular nowadays, but granite is still popular and it's extremely durable. What I would not recommend is using any kind of porous material that might stain easily, might get damaged easily. So we are also seeing some interesting alternatives in that sometimes concrete, and that's actually poured on site, is an option if you like a more industrial look, or in some cases having an island that maybe has a butcher block feel to it might be something that would be a good accent piece. It might not be as durable though, so make sure that if you're going to do something like butcher block, that you do it only in a particular area. We're going to be moving on after the kitchens, the surfaces, the cabinets, and the colors to the appliances. So appliances should all be matching and they should all be hopefully newer, if not new. So if you have very old style ovens, for instance, or you have a cooktop where all the burners don't work, or you have a refrigerator that's seen better days, you might consider some new appliances and try to make sure that the ones that you purchase or need to purchase are in line with the ones that you're going to keep or replace them all, because this will be a big selling point for a buyer. Here in Texas, refrigerators don't always convey with the sale, and neither do washers and dryers, but the other appliances all do. So depending on where you are in the country, you might have a different norm for what's going to come with your property. And so the next thing will be bathrooms. So bathrooms are also big, not just the primary bathroom or the master bathroom, but also the other bathrooms as well. What we're seeing a big trend towards is making sure that your shower stall is frameless. So it will have, you'll be able to see where the hinges are, but you will not have a visible frame that is either golden tone or something like that. You will actually have just a small amount that's going to show any metal whatsoever, and that will typically be on the hinge. We're also seeing a move away from secondary tubs. You may have a tub or a hot tub or a spa in your master or primary bath, but you're probably going to see less and less in the secondary baths. And in fact, a lot of older homes, we're seeing people are actually changing those out for a shower unit, which is much easier for people to get in and out of, and it's much easier for people that might have some mobility challenges. So consider secondary baths as well. Now, also look at the countertops and the cabinets in those secondary baths and how appealing they are, how up to date they are. A secondary bath is probably not going to cost you a lot of money to redo because it's limited space and limited units in there, but you will want to make sure that it's current and there are no cracks, that the paint is not chipped on the cabinets, etc., and it looks more up to date. Third would be your energy efficiency, and that would have to do with your water heater. It would also have to do with your HVAC unit and how old they are. And I would highly recommend that perhaps you even think about hiring a preventive maintenance company to keep these up to date and have them checked out, if not quarterly, at least every 6 months when you get into the cold season and into the warm season, so that you can have the units that you do own last longer. And if you do need to update them, make sure you're getting something and getting a really professional company to come in that knows what they're doing, and perhaps they may even have some payment plans. If you feel that you're on the verge of losing some of those units, you may very well want to hire a home warranty company, which is also called a residential service contract. And in some cases, if something stops working, then they will either repair it or they may even replace it. Depends on the company. So I would check them out. If you'd like a list of either preventive maintenance companies or residential service companies, also known as home warranty companies, let me know. They are usually available to sellers and they're transferable to a buyer. So it's very appealing for a buyer to know that you have one in place. Then I would talk about cosmetic improvements. So paint color is a big one. It's amazing to me that when you walk into a home and you'll see a bright blue room and a bright pink room and some really out of the norm colors on the walls, they might have been very inviting and refreshing to the current owner, but they're generally not going to photograph well and they're not going to appeal to the majority of the people. So painting your home a neutral color and making sure that there are no marks and nail holes that are visible is going to really go a long way to showing that your home is well cared for. Things that do not pay off generally would be highly customized designs. Again, we can talk about those paint colors. Luxury backyard building items, for instance, if you had a very expensive playground built for your children and the buyer either doesn't have young children, doesn't have children at all, or is not interested in looking at that every day, that's actually, they're going to ask you to take it away with you. Think twice if you're planning on moving in the next year or two before adding those type of items to your yard. And then a home theater. They're interesting and they were very common in the early 2000s. But once we saw a big influx of flat screen TVs, we saw that people are really using them less and less. So home theaters can be fine for some people, especially if they like to have a gaming room or something like that, but they're less and less desirable for the square footage. More and more people are looking for more game rooms or even card rooms, rooms to play mahjong in, or workout rooms than they are for home theaters. And then I would talk about things like pools. Now, a pool can be very advantageous for you if you are going to stay in your home for a while. But in actuality, when you go to sell that house, you're probably only going to get about 50% of that cost back from a buyer when compared to other properties. Now, it may be the reason somebody buys your house, but you're not going to recoup your cost. If you want a pool and you're not planning on moving for a while, or even if you are planning on moving, if it's worth it to you to have it, then by all means go do it. But just don't expect that the buyer will see that full value when they come to buy your home. So again, this is Linda Welsh from Linda Welsh Realty Group. I would love to help you with your home and would love to market it and help you sell it as well when you're ready. So if you'd like a list of any of the things that we talked about, please give me a call, or you can click on one of the links below and I'll be reaching out to you and helping you with your property. Thank you.